Hi, this is Rosie, founder of InnerBrilliance Coaching, and I wanted to welcome you to this interview series I call Be Perfectly You, based on my signature coaching program. It's obviously not about being perfect, but about being the real you so that you can shine and attract all that you desire in your life, but in a much more natural way. So, just a little bit of background on me before we get started. I've been a certified life and career coach for over 14 years. And previous to that, I was in advertising and marketing for 18 years. And now I work with high achieving clients to help them get results while feeling happier every step of the way. And I spent decades studying neuroscience and positive psychology and spirituality to really bring a holistic approach to optimize my clients' lives. And now I want to share all of my learnings directly with you. So I'm excited about this interview series where we're going to meet a variety of experts to help you feel like you could have success and happiness in your life, work, and love. And today we're meeting with Julia Lungin. Hi, Julia.
Hi, Rosie. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Really good. Happy to be here. Thank you for
I'm so
having me.
excited. Yeah, I'm excited to have you. Julia and I actually met through a women's coaching group, or actually a group that where she is always sharing these great insights about Ayurveda. And I hope I'm saying it correctly, but she actually is always sharing great insights about how to take care of yourself in a very natural way. And I bring up Ayurveda because that is something I learned about years ago. I read this book called Perfect Health by Deepak Chopra. And it really resonated with me because it really honed in on you and your body type and what you may need to feel whole and balanced. And that's what comes up for me. And to me, that's what being healthy is about, is feeling whole and balanced. And actually something I always remember, and it's that in Italian, the way you say something is whole or healthy is the word sana. They're the same words, and it's or the same meaning. It's like whole. And it means health. So I love thinking of health in that way. And so I thought I'm going to invite Julia here because she does such a beautiful job of explaining this way of taking care of yourself. So before we dive into you teaching us about all of this, why don't you share with us basically what you do? Actually, I'm going to share your bio, so we'll set that up first, and then you could share specifically what you do. So again, Julia is an Ayurvedic medicine practitioner, Reiki master, and integrated energy therapy master, instructor, and practitioner. She does a lot. She's certified in the unique natural facelift massage technique, as well as she's in training for being a certified Vedic counselor and breathwork guide. Her goal is to leave you feeling loved, nurtured, and nourished. She works with the intention of inspiring you with a wider understanding of yourself and why you are here. And Julia wants to remind her clients that they are valuable and worthy of the highest care and attention to themselves, which always comes through anytime I'm talking with you. So I love this. I'm so excited you're here. And again, if you wouldn't mind just sharing in a couple minutes a little bit more about what you do.
Okay, so I am an Ayurvedic practitioner. I work with clients. I do consultations and body work. So in the consultations, I find out everything about them. It's holistic. It is very detailed, and the consultation alone is such a learning experience for most of my clients. Just somebody asking them about particular questions gives them a sense of like, oh, I never thought about that. Oh, I never thought about that. And suddenly you're thinking about yourself, and suddenly your attention is on you. And what I find with, really high achieving clients is, they're a little distracted from themselves, and they're amazing people. They're doing so much for everyone else and the world. And sometimes they just forget about, turning turning the attention in on themselves in a very, detailed way. And once they do, boy, like the results are incredible, because how they do life on the outside, and then once they turn that in on themselves, and they usually find huge transformations in their life and in their energy.
I
So
love that. Yeah, it's so interesting what you shared, because in my program, Be Perfectly You, it's a 3-phased approach. And that first phase is just understanding who you are, not about changing who you are, believe it or not. It's about understanding more of who you are, like chipping away at all that other stuff and the noise that has kind of clouded us. So I think that's why I'm so attracted to this approach and to what you do, because that's the essence of what I think we all need to do. And you also hit on such another important point is how our energy is impacted. I often talk about energy management because we can't control other things in our lives. I've tried to control other people, other events, nothing, it doesn't work. So how do we tune into and tap into who we are to understand how to make, I don't know if it's the best use of our energy, or could you explain a little bit more about, I know you've talked about clean energy, and if you could share a little bit more what you mean about that, I think it would be awesome.
exactly. So I want to start with the 3 pillars of Ayurveda, which
Okay.
is digestion.
Wait, before you start that, can you just say in a sentence what Ayurveda is? Because I know I don't do a very good job of describing it.
Yeah, Ayurveda literally translates to the science or the knowledge of life.
Perfect.
It's a universal system. It's over 5,000 years old. It originated in India. However, it is completely universal, not for Indian people or, you know, yeah. So it's for everybody. Just such a complete science.
Just a quick side note, I loved it, and I gave it to my tradition. I gave the book that talked about it, or I learned about it, to my traditional Sicilian father years ago when he was alive. And it even resonated with him. And I say even because I'm like, oh, wow, it is truly universal. And that's what I love about it. But then, yeah, if you could explain the pillars, that would be great.
So the 3 pillars are digestion, stress management, and sleep, rest. So, that's basically what we deal with in terms of our energy. So, when we are not digesting well, that makes us sluggish in our bodies. When we are not digesting thoughts well in our mind, that also creates stagnation, lack of energy, because we might be just ruminating, over something for a while. And we're human, we all do
It can
this.
happen.
Us, it's just levels of it. So, and then sleep, what's keeping us up at night? Why are we not sleeping? And there are baseline, there's baseline health that you want to tune into, for example, as far as digestion goes, you should feel energized after a meal. Um, you should be having a bowel movement every single day.
Because that means it's moving through you, you're processing it.
Exactly. So you're eating, you're digesting, and you're
Releasing.
So there's a process. So knowing your digestion, knowing your.
Can I ask you a quick question about I'm sorry, you said you're not sluggish after a meal. I thought that was being Italian. I literally would finish a meal and feel like laying down. We were just, and maybe more because growing up here, I don't think that's how it is everywhere, but we ate so much. It was healthy food, a lot, but a lot of it. And that's not how I wanted to feel anymore.
Right. And there is a practice. You only want to eat up to 70% full.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're feeling full, you've eaten too much. And
I know
that's
that now.
key. Yeah. So there's just so many tips, practices. And what's great is that there's something for everyone. Like there is a tool that particular to your lifestyle. Like you don't have to fit the mold of Ayurveda. Ayurveda actually fits into the mold of you in particular. That's why there's no right and wrong. I mean, there's baseline, like ideas like you should be having a bowel movement, every day. However, there are instances where that is not the baseline for a particular person.
Would you say, is there anything, and then I want to ask you quickly about the dosha types, but would you say there's any rules around, not rules, but like you said, baseline around sleep? Because I think I cut you off because you started mentioning the digestion, but anything around sleep?
Well, around sleep, generally you should fall asleep within 5 to 10 minutes of hitting the pillow.
Okay.
And sleep through the night up until the time it is you wake up. Now, for some people, that's 6 hours. For some people, that's 7 hours. For some people, that's 9 hours.
Okay.
So depending on, how much sleep you need. But that's kind of like the baseline. So if you're waking up several times in the night, something's off.
Yeah.
And it's about micromanaging yourself. And how do we micromanage ourselves is first, we really get to know ourselves intimately. So
Okay.
self-study and self-care.
Okay.
So I guess the three pillars remain in the house of self-study and self-care.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That
Yeah.
actually, does that kind of get, I was going to ask you what maybe I want to ask about your doshas, just if there's a high level way to explain that, because something I experienced when I started studying more about this and how to take care of myself, because again, I really focus on energy management. When I was in my 20s working in advertising, let's just say I did not have time to eat well. So I know I wasn't doing well in that department. My sleep wasn't great. I would just work all day and then sleep for a little bit and then get up and go back to work. And my stress level was very high. And I found myself just in this bad cycle of coming home, eating dinner if I had time to eat, passing out and starting over. And that's when I knew I wanted to shift. In my 30s, I was like, this is it. I'm done. I want to feel energized. And it's amazing. I have more energy in my 40s than I did in my 30s than I did in my 20s. It's like this whole way of living and understanding my body, how it operates, helped me. It was so validating. That's what I want to say. Like, it's like, yes, I like this kind of food. My body, and there's another phrase, sorry, I'm bringing up a lot of Italian, is that it goes with me. Like, there's these things that just, eating warm foods, that works better for me. And I was trying to force myself to eat salads because that's what I heard everyone was eating or is healthy.
Yep. Yes.
So yeah, if you want to share the body types quickly,
Right.
just as a, if that's, or if you think that would be helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. So Ayurveda, every is a system of nature. So basically the 5 elements that are outside in the world, ether, air, fire, water, and earth. So those 3 energies are manifest everywhere in the world and inside of ourselves. So when we're born, we do have a particular nature that, we lean towards. Some people have more fire, some people have more earth, some people have more water. So Ayurveda breaks it down into 3 doshas. So Vata is ether and air. And you can imagine, what the qualities of air look like and what they look like inside of us. There is also Pitta, which is fire and water, mostly fire, 1 drop of water. So it's a very like fiery existence. And we all know people who have a lot of Pitta, super motivated. Usually the high achievers are the Pittas.
I'm Vata Pitta or Pitta.
Vata, Pitta, Pitta, Vata are, yeah.
Yeah.
And then there is the third one, which is Kapha, And that is earth and water. And that is more grounded, stable. Those people are kind of earthy, mama energy, slow walking, slow talking, calm, grounded. Usually the healers or the, counselors of the world.
Mm-hmm. It's so interesting because, again, this takes so much time, I feel like, to understand, but you are doing such a beautiful job of explaining it. I know in our group alone, I was in a picture of kapha and what that meant and looked like. And then I think some of you shared that you were, and I was like, oh, and now I could see it now that I have this understanding of it, that it is a calm energy, which you always bring to our group. And so aren't you a bit, if it's okay, do you want to share who?
I'm actually Vata Kapha.
Kapha, right? Yeah, there's kapha in you though. And I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. So, well, I know this might be a lot for people to literally be digesting. So why don't we go to maybe just 3 tips people can use to get started and kind of contemplating, okay, this sounds interesting. What could I do next?
Yeah. So I would assess, I would start with just taking a look at your lifestyle and your energy. And, how do you feel in the 3 baseline, the 3 pillars that I mentioned? How is your sleep? How is your stress level? And how is your digestion? So that is the first step, is just awareness. Like, oh wow, yeah, maybe things are off. Maybe there are things I can do differently to help my energy. A lot of times we're just not aware. Like a lot of, I work with healthy people, who just don't know there's a next level that they can tap into. So, and then the second thing I would say is, are you wanting a change? And, one thing about Ayurveda and how I work is I never suggest that anybody give up anything they're not ready to give up, or change anything they're not fully ready to change. That will actually work against you. Like if you're like, well, I should be doing things differently, or I should be, won't work. It really is going to come from like, I am ready to make some changes, do things a little differently, and I'm willing to take it on. So I would start there. And, the teacher comes when they are invited. And so I never, it's not about like pushing or forcing anything on you.
I love that. I often work with my clients. I meet them where they are, right? It's like trying to push something isn't, and it just doesn't work. Like you said, I've had some people during consultation say, you have to yell at me or push me and make me do it. And I'm like, I won't. That's not how I work. And I know it doesn't work long term. I think it can work for a short amount of time, right? It's like that willpower, but it's not long lasting. It doesn't really, it's not, I don't think, a long-term strategy for success. So I love how you're saying, just notice where you are, right? Get curious about it, then honor what you're willing to change. And I always have this terrible joke, but you need to stop shoulding on yourself. Like no more shoulds, right?
Exactly. And one more thing I would suggest is if you are making changes, I wouldn't do more than 1 or 2 things differently per week. So really just take on one thing, even though it seems so small and you could, you're imagining you can take on 3 things, just take on the one thing, and that micro steps. And I'm so into micro everything, because I have found that is the best way, to make big changes in the micro way of doing it.
I hear you. I did that again earlier on when I worked in advertising on the McDonald's account, and I was eating those French fries are so delicious. And I was learning about this, and I knew that I couldn't just stop eating those. So I tried to replace them, and I just slowly swapped it out with sweet potato fries. And then little by little, now I'll have a baked sweet potato all the time. I love it so much. And I know personally that if I told myself I couldn't have them, the original thing I wanted, it wouldn't have worked. And so fascinating how much you can, just by those slow changes. And I love how you call them micro changes. I think of them of like noticing these mini moments. You can have mini moments of happiness where you just make a little change and you keep it over the long term because of that. So
Mhm.
this was so helpful. Is there anything else you want to share before we wrap up?
Let's see. I guess I just want to share, my message is love and, just give yourself some love today. However that looks like to you, but don't forget you and you know, yeah, just turn it around.
I love that.
You
I
need
can't,
it.
yeah, I love it. No, I can't stop smiling because that is how I feel every time I talk with you. I was like, you just always emanate that love and remind me to just hold myself in that grace and space of love. So thank you so much. And thank you for your time. If people want to get a hold of you, can I tell them your email address? And if they are looking for a practitioner or just a guide in this process, I love the name is Vedic Jules at gmail.com, VEDICJULES at gmail.com. I'll write it in the description here too, so you will have it. And with that, thank you again. It was so wonderful to see you. As always, I know. Thank you. Take care.
Okay, bye.